Hi, my name is Mayor Cortez. I serve as Mayor of Joplin, and this is your monthly community update. For this month's episode, I want to talk about public safety. Our citizens continually tell us that public safety is a top concern in our community. We hear you. Your city council continues to focus on public safety as a top priority across the city government. We aim to reduce crime and enhance safety in every possible way. Today, I'm going to dive into some of the progress we've made and the challenges we still face. But first, I want to encourage you to sign up for The Citizen, our monthly email newsletter. Just scan the QR code on the screen to subscribe. It's packed full of information about events, programs, and project updates so you can better understand what your local government is doing for you. Here at the City of Joplin, we do a lot for public safety across city departments. Road safety, food safety, preventing the spread of diseases, inspecting buildings to make sure they are safe. But when we talk about public safety, typically that's shorthand for fire and police. These two departments do the critical first response work to address emergencies, prevent and solve crime, and restore our sense of peace and safety. The police and fire departments are the most expensive departments to operate from the general fund, due to the staffing required to cover the entire city 24 hours a day, every day of the year. We currently have 72 positions budgeted for the fire department and 109 in the police department. So for this video, we're going to take the narrow definition of public safety and focus in on the progress and ongoing challenges facing the police and fire departments. We heard the public's concern about crime, drugs, and homelessness during the city manager's listening tour a few years ago. You also told us that you want more traffic patrol and to clamp down on dangerous driving by motorcycle riders. We heard you want better pedestrian safety and more patrols downtown. We heard you want more EMT paramedics in the fire department, better building safety, and fewer fires in abandoned buildings. We heard you, and we've made some progress. The police department shifted staffing to be highest during the part of the day when they get the highest number of calls for service. They pulled Joplin officers out of the Regional Drug Task Force and reassigned them to a flex platoon focused on proactively taking down drug traffickers in our city. They also launched the police co-responder unit to help direct the homeless and other struggling individuals to the resources they need to get their lives back together. They're using what they have to put officers in neighborhoods more consistently, like using the bike patrol to assist in the downtown area. The fire department built Fire Station number 7 for shorter response times in southeast Joplin, and we added new, more reliable fire engines while transitioning to new hoses which make us more effective at stopping fires faster. We've made strides to improve building safety and reduce the frequency of fires in illegally occupied structures. We've heard your concerns and we've made improvements, but there is still much more to be done. I'm incredibly proud of the hard work of our police and fire departments to do more with less. But we risk burning our people out and damaging their morale, efficiency, and effectiveness when they are consistently stretched thin and feel they are underpaid. That's actually true across all city departments, not just police and fire. We're all concerned about the rising calls for service. In 2024, the fire department had 9,500 calls for service, and we're on pace to break 10,000 this year. Meanwhile, the police department consistently has over 80,000 calls for service in the course of a year. This leads to officers not being able to respond to low priority calls in a timely manner. Officers are stacked up with calls from the moment they clock in, responding to high priority calls consistently through their shifts in what we refer to as chasing the radio. That means they can't do as much proactive policing and crime prevention as they want, and you, the citizen, would like to see too. The fire department is so busy trying to meet their rigorous training requirements and responding to calls for service that they've been having to deny requests to appear at public education events for fire prevention. The biggest challenge to both departments has to do with staffing, pay, and morale. Pay, which is not as competitive as other area departments, leads to higher turnover. City Council voted to bring up police and fire pay in 2023, along with small percentage increases in the form of cost of living adjustments and annual step increases. Still, officers and firefighters may go to better paying jurisdictions or leave the career field altogether to support their families. Those remaining are stretched thin, taking on extra shifts to respond to very high amount of service calls. The city will seek to address these current concerns with the next collective bargaining agreement within the police and fire unions. We don't have enough personnel to keep up with our growing community. A 2022 staffing study cited a need for an additional 20 officers, and a similar study also made recommendations for the fire department. We've got to get the staffing needed to keep up with the growing demand for services which our citizens expect and deserve. The fire department has also identified the needs to replace Fire Station 3, which is aging and presents major maintenance challenges. They've also identified the need for an 8th station to make sure response times are short enough to prevent everyone's property insurance from getting more expensive. These unfunded needs are very concerning. This is why council and staff are beginning to have real conversations about budget priorities. We need to figure out how to ensure our stated top priority, public safety, will get the funding necessary to deliver the quality of police and fire services which our community expects and deserves. Foundational to that is taking care of our first responders and all the civilian public service servants across the city government who support the public safety mission. Unfortunately, the city budget is going to be tight in 2026. Sales tax revenues have been flat at best this year. We're actually down on revenue year to date compared to last budget year. That means we just don't have the funding available to afford all the additional investments into public safety which we want to make. Here's the math. The police and fire departments altogether account for 65.5% of expenses from our general fund budget. But the general fund also has to support all other general governmental operations such as IT, HR, finance, and etc. In 2024, it cost $17.76 million to operate the police and fire departments combined. That's not including capital projects, the big one-time purchases for fire equipment like fire trucks. Again, that's $17.76 million just for personnel, operations, and maintenance costs for police and fire. Compare that to the total revenue generated by the city's 1 cent general sales and use tax. It brought in $17.97 million. Other funds have restricted uses and can only be spent in ways that are legally obligated to use the funds. For example, money raised through a grant must go to the project for which the grant was awarded, and money raised through other taxes such as parks and stormwater sales tax can only be spent on parks and stormwater projects, which were approved by voters at the time the tax was passed. So even though voters approved the use tax in 2022 and a capital improvement sales tax in 2024, those funds are reserved for certain uses as approved by voters, and we cannot legally shift that money to pay for police and fire needs which are currently out of reach. So while we understand the public wants us to raise pay for the first responders to be more competitive with surrounding agencies and create more positions so we can keep up with the calls for service and respond faster, and invest in the facilities and equipment our first responders need to be effective, unfortunately, we don't have a good solution to the financial squeeze the city is feeling right now. If you have questions about police, fire, and other aspects of public safety in our community, I encourage you to reach out to your council members or other department chiefs for more information. I urge you to schedule a ride-along or visit with our first responders to understand their needs and concerns. Then I challenge you to start thinking about possible solutions. What's the best legal and responsible way to meet the top priority needs of our community? The City Council and leadership staff will work to propose a solution, but we also invite you to contribute to the discussion. Thank you for staying informed and participating in your local community. If you appreciate these updates, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for the latest news.